Alright, first off, I want to thank Oliver for joining us for this story today. Thank you, Oliver. Now, my name is Alpine, and I'm going to be telling you the story of Sleeping Beauty, the original version. You excited about it? Alright, so once upon a time, there was a kingdom, and the king and queen wanted nothing more than to have a child of their own. And so that's what happened. They had a daughter, a princess. Now, when the princess was born, they wanted only the best, and they wanted to have her christened with the whole kingdom there, and they invited all the fairies, which the 7 fairies were meant to be her godmothers, and there's going to be a big feast after the christening. It was a really big deal. Now, christening went fine, went on without a hitch. Then, the problem was the feast. Okay, the feast started off normal. The 7 fairies were there. They sat down with their gold plates and their gold cutlery. And then another fairy walks in, an old fairy who had not been there for 50 years. Now we're on our uphill slope of our thing. Now, they rushed and tried their best to get her the same as they had got the other 7 fairies, but to no avail because it was such short notice and they didn't know she was going to be there. She got very mad, and she was planning on cursing the princess. Now, one of the younger fairies heard this, and she said, I'm going to hang back, and I'm going to try and fix the curse that the old fairy puts on her. And so that's just what she did. After the feast, the fairies went up, and they each gave the princess one blessing. The first fairy said, "The princess shall be the most beautiful woman in the world." Most beautiful, Oliver. Most beautiful. The second fairy said, "She shall have a temper as sweet as an angel." You an angel? Yeah. The third said, "She shall have the wonderful grace in everything she does and says." The fourth, "She shall sing like a nightingale." The fifth, "She shall dance like a flower in the wind." And the sixth, "She shall play such music as was never heard on earth." Now the old fairy's turn came, and she said, "When the princess turns 17, she shall prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and die." And everyone started crying. Everyone started crying. Yes, everyone started crying. And then the last fairy came, the young one, and said, "While I cannot undo what my sister has done, I say that instead of dying, the princess shall go into 100-year sleep." The princess is going to sleep for 100 years. And she will be woken by true love's kiss. Now, the princess grew up. And when she grew up, her dad, the king, had banished all spindles just to be safe. But an old woman who was deaf and she wasn't as good at seeing said she didn't know about this decree. And so she still had a spindle. And the princess wandered up at the age of 17 and asked if she could try spinning on the spinning wheel. And in the process, pricks her finger. So everyone tried to do everything they could to save her, but to no avail. The 100 years had to pass. Now, the king and queen never had any other children, so she was their only heir. So when the king and queen died, they passed on the kingdom to another royal family, and that royal family eventually, down the line, after 100 years, had a son. And they started asking questions about this castle that was hidden by briar and this big wood fortress around it. Big fence. And the prince, he wandered in. He went up the stairs to the tower, and in a gold room found a princess who looked like she had just fell asleep, but she had been sleeping for 100 years. And he went up and he kissed her, and she woke up, and all was well. Now the young fairy helped her during this transition, since everyone she had known was no longer there. And the prince and the princess lived happily ever after. The end. Thank you for coming to listen to my story, Oliver. You were a very good audience. I very much appreciate it. Now this is my story mountain. And I could not have done this without my faithful audience of one. Thank you.